Hello everyone, Reginald Scott here. Welcome to the video. Great to see you all again, and I hope you're all doing really well. So today I'm doing a video about are Chinese products made by Chinese companies as good as products made by Western companies? Are Chinese brand products as good as Western brand products? So that's what the video is going to be about today. So if you like that kind of subject and you're a fan of controversy,
I am Chinese, if you please. Come on, Dougal, lighten up.
then yeah, stick with us. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell and share with a friend. Oh, and thank you very much for the 10,000 subscribers. Whee! That was a nice little bunny hop. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe. Ooh, monkeys, whoa, hey. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's been raining a lot here in Brunei. The weather has been absolutely horrendous. This has literally been the wettest year I can ever remember in the sort of 8 years I've been here now. This is definitely the wettest year. Never known it quite so wet. So I've not been out much, to be honest with you. My activity dropped right off. Now, I'll say straight away, whoops, nice big hill, say it straight away, I'm not sponsored in today's video at all, so everything I say is my opinion, and that opinion is based on not only being a bike shop owner and mechanic for nearly 10 years, but yeah, I've always been an avid cyclist. I would say I'm a 20-year veteran at least of road cycling, if not longer. I'm wondering if I should stop for a snack today. Oh, this drain is new. That wasn't there last time I came. There we go. Convenient corner shop. So, I got myself a nice coffee and some chocolate chip cookies. With you in a second. Oh, that's better. I don't like riding on an empty stomach. I'm just going to come out and say it. Chinese branded products, that is products that are probably manufactured in China but are owned by a Chinese company, are not as good. They are inferior, in my opinion. Having bought, sold and used such products, they are inferior to those of old Western brands. So what do I mean by that? Like, Windspace is inferior to DT Swiss, like that, right? A lot of people are going to say, well, all these Western brands now are made in China. You can't get stuff made in the West. Even if it's a Western brand, you know, it's still produced in Xiaomin or wherever. So there's no difference. There's no difference between the two. You're talking rubbish. Get off YouTube. Well, actually, there are some differences. And although those differences may be subtle, they're very important. I'm going to stick to the subject of wheels, okay? Because I could talk about 1,000 different products, right? Because there's so many different cycling products. But I'm going to stick to wheels. I'm going to tell you the reasons why Chinese branded wheels are inferior to Western branded wheels. And then I'm going to give you advice on what Chinese products I think you're safe buying. We're going to compare two sets of wheels that I use on a regular basis. That is, these Windspace wheels I'm running right now, these are Windspace Hypers. I believe they're 2nd gen wheels. They are carbon fiber rim brake, carbon spokes, aluminium hub. I've had them now for, let's say, 3 years. Okay, and then I've got another pair of wheels, DT Swiss PR 1400s. They are aluminium rim, aluminium spoke, aluminium hub, and they have a DT Swiss 240 ratchet hub inside them with a 36T ratchet, and I've had those wheels for 6 years at least. Okay, now why is this a good comparison? Well, number one, they're 2 sets of wheels that I'm intimately acquainted with, and what's nice is they're both about the same price. I paid, let's say, around $1,500. It was around $1,600 for the DT Swiss wheels, and I paid $1,600. Oops, what am I doing? I want less gears, not more gears. Silly boy. I paid $1,600 for the Hypers as well, so I paid the same price for both pairs of wheels. And also, what's interesting is they weigh the same as well. There's only about 10 to 15 grams difference between those 2 wheel sets, which is kind of extraordinary. I've also tested them extensively. I did a aero test with those wheels a while back. The Hypers were definitely faster, but I wasn't expecting anything more than that, because obviously the Hypers are deep section carbon rims. They're going to be more aero. Let's talk about the Hypers on their own for a second. The Hypers have a brake track on them, carbon brake track, and a carbon rim, which is, in my personal experience, the best carbon rim I've ever seen or ever used. Okay, the braking performance on those Windspace carbon rims in wet or dry is superior to that of my aluminium DT Swiss, and I never thought I'd ever say that, and a lot of people are probably not going to believe that, but it's the truth. Okay, they are phenomenally good. So no issues there. The carbon spokes that come on the Hyper are also very good. Very impressed with the technology. Had no issues with them thus far. Yes, they do break more easily than steel or aluminium if you hit them, but that again is to be expected. That's the sacrifice that you make for having those super lightweight spokes. But once they're in the wheel, they perform very, very well. And apart from out of the box, I've had a few truing issues with Hypers out the box, but apart from once you've got them trued up, they tend to stay put fairly well, so that's good. Now we come on to the hubs. The hub on the Hyper, it's cheap and nasty material wise. It's very simple and it's not reliable. Yeah, the hub is not good. I'll emphasize this point. Okay, so I had the Hypers for only a few months. In fact, probably less than that actually, less than a few months. Probably about like a month or something, when I noticed that the bearings inside the hubs had already started to wear out. And that was because they were ceramic bearings, hybrid ceramics. After about 300 kilometers, I started to notice noise coming from the bearings. And that's not good. Now, I ignored it because I just thought, well, you know, the bearings are wearing out, but that's fine. Once they've completely shot themselves, you know, I'll replace them, no worries. And so when they got really bad, like a year later, I switched them out for a set of steel bearings. And what I noticed was that there was like side to side movement in the wheel. And that side-to-side movement was caused by basically the axle and the end caps on the hub wearing. So I've got this movement. It's not too bad. It's about 1 millimeter of movement, maybe less than 1 millimeter, but it's there, okay? And you can feel it on the outside of the rim, because obviously the wear on the actual hub itself is very, very small, but once you amplify that to the outside of the rim, like a lever, if you imagine, the movement is very noticeable. And I'm not the only person to have this issue. I had a customer come to me the other day and complain of exactly the same problem, and theirs is really bad. Theirs is moving like 5 mil or more, you know, from side to side. I also noticed when I opened the hub for servicing, you know, the poles were wearing a little bit, not massively, but they were wearing slightly, not terribly hard, I guess. And I also noticed a little bit of surface corrosion, which is not great. You don't want, you know, it's not the end of the world, but because what they've done is they've only anodized part of the hub. Well, actually the way they've constructed the hub is they've anodized the entire body of the hub in black to protect it from corrosion, and then after doing that they've drilled the hub for the poles and for the mechanical moving parts of the hub. Compare that with the DT Swiss. Basically, after 2 years of use, the Winspace wheels are damaged and the hubs need replacing, or the hubs need new parts, okay? With the DT Swiss wheels, I've had them for 6 years and I've never had an issue. Not one issue with the hub. The hub is absolutely fine, there's no corrosion. The axle is anodized black, and you can't see any serious wear on the axle whatsoever. The end caps still fit like a glove. There's no movement in it. It's absolutely spot on perfect. So you can see the difference in quality, okay? Now you're paying the same price. So basically what you're paying for with the Chinese rim is the rim. You're paying for the carbon fiber. And so the Chinese have put a very cheap hub on the Chinese wheel, and so it's simply not going to last as long. And for a comparison between the sort of the PR 1400 DT Swiss wheel versus the Hypers, the DT Swiss carbon wheel was twice the price. It was 3,000 Brunei dollars, or over 3,000 Brunei dollars, versus basically 1,500 for the Winspace. So I looked at it and went, oh, you know, the Winspace looks economically viable. And the other side of it was, I fell for the marketing. I really did, because there was a lot of people online, a lot of so-called engineers and experts who back then, all those years ago, I really trusted, and they were all saying, oh yeah, the Hyper's amazing, it's a really great wheel. Now there's obviously a backstory to all of that. I'll tell that in another video. But essentially I got duped, and I thought, well, everyone's saying these are the best things since sliced bread, and these people are so-called independent reviewers, right? I was too trusting, yeah? I trusted them too much, and that was my fault. Okay, so I trusted them, I bought the wheels, and you know, initially when I did my initial review, I was really happy with those wheels, you know, these Hypers. I was really happy with them. I thought they were amazing. You know, they were so incredibly light. They weren't that expensive, you know, they looked amazing. They sound good, although I don't like loud wheels generally. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
Apa khabar?
Alhamdulillah. Dari mana, bos?
Ada ikan?
Belum lah, baru juga pan.
you know, these things are great, but the reality sets in later and you really understand where the value of the Western products is coming from. And the reason for this, okay, the reason why those Western brands, even if they're made in China, are better, and this is the very important point, okay, it's about quality control, okay, and not just quality control, but business ethics and business strategy. Right, let's talk about this. So the first thing, quality control. If you are a Western brand who's been around decades, right, or maybe even hundreds of years, millennia, you know, like Campy and some of these really old elite Western cycling brands who've got very prestigious names, you have a certain responsibility to that company name, and you have a certain, how should I say, company image to uphold. Now, that obviously comes at a cost. That is why, for one reason, Western brand stuff is so bloody expensive, because you're buying the name, you're buying the brand. So it used to be the case that you could rely on a brand to be quality. Now, it's not always the case, and I think over the years now it has slipped for sure. Some of the older Western brands are nowhere near as good as they used to be, and they're charging considerably more and more every year for their particular product, and it is getting out of hand. I won't disagree with that. But like I say, there is a certain level of reputation that these brands have. The Chinese brands don't have that reputation because they are unknown, they are often new, and they often change their names regularly, right? One brand can turn into another brand overnight. And you'll notice that on things like AliExpress, that, you know, different names of stuff changes, but it's the same product because somebody else is making it under a different name. Okay, so I can't talk right now. This is a really steep hill. I'll be able to find out how steep it is though today, finally. Ugh. Oh, this is stupid steep. Just hit my knee as well. Ah. Ah. Oh. How steep is this thing? 15.9 at this section. So more than that. Because this is the easy part. Yikes. Brand matters less when you're dealing with one of the Chinese companies. Because like I say, often they're newer and they simply don't have a reputation yet. Now, when you've got the factories in China producing different brand products, if it's a Chinese brand, that means it's Chinese quality control. And we all know there are issues with Chinese quality.
I hear you're a racist now, Father. What? How did you get interested in that type of thing? Who said I'm a racist? Everyone's saying it, Father.
One of the main reasons many people, including myself, were suspicious to buy Chinese products originally was because we'd had long experience with bad Chinese products. I say that comes from long experience, and so it's not surprising that the quality will not be the same. They're also cost cutting to the absolute maximum. And the reason why they cost cut to the absolute maximum is because the cheaper they can make the product, the more profit they can make on it. Now they know that most people, like myself or like you, are not going to pay DT Swiss or Campagnola prices for a Chinese unknown brand wheel, right? There's no way you're going to do that. So their wheel has to be ridiculously cheap, literally half the price of the Western brand, because otherwise you're not even going to consider it. And so therefore they have to cut costs somewhere. And like I say, they cut those costs on the quality of the materials and the design. They find every way they can to cheapen the design, and they worry about it later. When you have a Western brand being made in China, what you also have is a bunch of people over there from the West, directly from the company involved, because it's not their factory normally. Normally they're renting the factory from a Chinese company, but they have their own representatives in the factory. So Fizik, I know very well because I've been to their factory in Italy, but Fizik make their saddles in Italy, but they make a lot of their shoes and stuff abroad in China. And I used to chat with the guy who was one of the representatives of Fizik, a real Italian guy.
Italian Spider-Man, Italian Spider-Man,
who was living in Asia monitoring production at the factories, you see. So that's how it works. And so they answer not to the company that's making the product, they answer direct to Fizik or the Western brand. And if they spot anything wrong with production, if there's any issue with production, they immediately bring it up with the factory. Somebody's backside gets kicked.
rispetti le donne.
And they fix the problem. And that's why you get these issues when you buy a lot of these products from China. The fail rate is higher. A really good example of this is Chase Velo. If you watch Chase Velo on YouTube, you watch his reviews, you will notice that a lot of the time he'll come back a few weeks later and he'll say, oh, this cassette that I bought, it broke on me. Or this group set I bought has got a problem now. Or this frame that I bought, I had to drill holes in it. All this kind of stuff, right? The percentage of his equipment that he has to fix, modify and return is very high. The business ethics of Chinese businesses is different from the ethics of Western businesses.
If I'm not getting screwed over in China, something's wrong. And it says, welcome, famous American investor, Eric Bethel. And I look at the numbers, and I look at the guy that I'm supposed to be doing the deal with. We were supposed to be paying X, and he had made it X plus 40%. And I said, bro, what's up with this? And he's like, well, we had to change things at the last minute. You're okay with it, right? And I said, no, but everyone's here. Like, what are we gonna do? You have to sign. I was like, And I walked out. And so I'm walking out, everyone's looking at me. It's very awkward. And so I'm about to get in my car and the guy's like, okay. We'll go back to your original number.
Wow.
Welcome to China.
I'll put it to you this way, okay? So I was buying a product from a Chinese company, mainland Chinese company, right? They were cassettes, lightweight cassettes. And I was selling these products and I thought they were cool. And they were very light and they looked amazing. They came in all these lovely colors. And I went, oh, I want those for my shop. So I bought a bunch. I think I bought like 6 of them. And I started selling them. And I was thinking to get one for myself as well. I was like, oh, I really want a titanium one because they did them in steel, aluminium and titanium. Now I didn't buy the aluminium ones because I was like, that doesn't sound reliable to me. But Dura Ace and Shram Red, they're made of steel and titanium, so steel and titanium must be fine. So anyway, started selling these things. And the customers kept coming back to me and saying, I've got issues with these cassettes. The 11 tooth on the cassette keeps slipping. Like it won't stay in battery, basically. It won't stay in gear. This way. No matter what I do kind of thing, it just wants to slide around all over the place. And, so what we did is we brought it back in the shop. I tuned up the gears. I changed the chain. We tried different brands of chains, because maybe these particular cassettes were finicky, right? And maybe we could find a chain that worked with them. Anyway, we tried BBB chains, Shimano, we tried SRAM chains, we tried KMC chains. Nothing worked. Okay. Yeah, I was like, okay, so contact the manufacturer in China. It's like, we're having problems with these cassettes. I explained the problem. And he was like, oh, you just need to tune the gears. I was like, no, already done that. He was like, try a different chain. I was like, no, already done that. And he said, and you know what his response was after that? Oh, well, nobody else is having a problem. And that was that. So I was left with thousands of dollars worth of cassettes, yeah, a bunch of unhappy customers, and his response was, oh, well, too bad, sucks to be you. Basically, that was his response. And this, again, Chinese company, mainland China. In the entire time that I've been selling physique products, and I've sold a lot of physique saddles, for example, I've only ever had two warranty returns for physique saddles, if I can get it out. And both those times it was like a creaking saddle that had a weird creak. I think one of them had cracked. Okay, and I contacted Physique, and they immediately got back to me. They said, we will take the value of the saddle off your next order. Please give the customer a new saddle from your inventory. And that was that. Job done. I gave the customer a new saddle, and Physique reimbursed me the cost in my next order. So I didn't lose any money. The customer got a new saddle. Everybody was happy. That is the difference, okay? I'll tell you about WindSpace, right? Because it's part of the example. I contacted WindSpace about the hub. I told them the issue. I showed them in great detail what I needed to fix the hub, which was a new axle and new end caps. I gave the serial numbers, I gave the year of the wheel, all of that stuff. And WindSpace came back and said, we no longer support that wheel. And your warranty has expired. I'm like, well, yeah, I've had the wheel 2 years. I know the warranty's over. But what do you mean you don't support the wheel anymore? They said just that. They said, we no longer make axles for that wheel. We cannot help you. And that is very frustrating, because there are a lot of people out there with the same wheels that I've got. And that means that absolutely none of those wheels are repairable, because WindSpace don't make that hub design anymore. And they are refusing, even though they've got the CNC machines in the factory, even though all they need to do is put a blank piece of aluminium in the CNC machine, press go, and machine out, I don't know, 10 axles in a batch, put 9 in their stock for future customers who need them, and sell me 1. That's all they need to do. But they're not even prepared to do that. It's tough luck. Now, DT Swiss, I've had customers with DT Swiss wheels which are like 10 years old. And I've contacted DT Swiss about those wheels, and DT Swiss have said, oh yeah, sure, we'll send you that part. Just give us the serial number. So DT Swiss continue to support their wheels, or continue to have stock for their wheels for decades after you bought them. Here's another very difficult hill. I haven't drunk all day. Right. I haven't drunk water, goodness me. What am I doing? Right, this is a concrete hill. Concrete, and it's a bit slippy. So we'll see how we do. It's again very steep. What is it? 7.6, 8, 9, 9.9, 10, 11, 14, 15, 17.9, 20 something. Oh my god, it's 23.7, 23.7, I think it was. Wow, I could barely look down. Oh. Yeah, tough hill. That's why good tyres are important. Good tyres are very, very important. Slow it down a bit. Like I say, been raining a lot. I've been through here when it's completely flooded. Today is not so bad. Gonna get a wet bum. Here's the thing, what I've noticed as well, it's quite deceptive, that initially when you buy the new product from China, if it's like a new release, okay, if they've newly released it and it's getting all the reviews and getting all positive reviews, if you have a problem with that wheel or product, that is the best time to complain about it, because they're on high alert. They're on high alert to squash any negative reviews of the product at that point. If you wait, oh wow, this road wasn't like this before. It's become a gravel road since last time I came. Crikey, is that a landslide? Might be from all the rain. But once they've sold a certain quantity, that's it, they don't care. They're already on to the next product. But what Chinese products are safe to buy? Okay, from Chinese brands. That's a really good question. That is a really good question. So, I've got these cable housings on this bike. They're made in China. They are a copy of a Jaguar design. They are like $40 cheaper than the Jaguar version. And they've been pretty good, to be honest with you. They've been really nice. They've worked exceedingly well. So, yes, you know, simple things like that. But what I would say is this cable housing creaks like crazy. It's very noisy. And I was talking to a friend of mine who has the real deal. He has the Jaguar version of this. And he said it's completely silent. So there again, you can see the difference, can't you? Although this works, it's not as good. Next thing, I've got a pair of bottle cages on this bike. They're made in China. Carbon fiber bottle cages. Yeah, they're very cheap. They're a lot cheaper than the Western version. The Western ones are also made in China. You know, for me, they're worth it, right? I wouldn't buy anything Chinese branded from a Chinese manufacturer that I have to like seriously rely on. Like, I wouldn't buy a handlebar. This is a Physique carbon handlebar. Whereas if I buy, you know, a carbon handlebar from China, from a random seller on AliExpress, you get what you pay for again, you know what I mean? Like, I just wouldn't do that because it's not worth the risk. I'm not saying that a Western carbon bar can't break. It can. But there's just way more risk factor because we're talking about quality control, okay? It might look just as good, but you don't know that. Electronics, cheap electronics, I would consider those, like bike lights and things, because again, bike lights, they're usually fairly cheap from China. Like the bike lights I have on my bike, bit hypocritical of me, are a Western brand. They're BBB. They're made in China, but they're a Western brand, and they're very expensive. Like, their retail price is 60 Brunei dollars each, right? For $5, I can pick up a Chinese light, which is equally as bright as these ones, has just as many functions, you know, looks very similar, same attachment style, all that kind of thing, right? I could, for $5, get those. But in my life, I bought a lot of cheap Chinese lights, and they burn out. They burn out, some don't last a few months. So there you go, folks, that's my opinion. Bit of a contentious one, I know.
Culture, and I'd like to thank you all for coming here tonight, and of course,
it's just my experience. I'm just talking from experience, being a shop owner, buying these products, selling these products, using these products. You get what you pay for. Yeah, if something is half the price, there's a reason for that. With the Windspace, you're paying 100% for those amazing carbon rims. And they are amazing. They are really, really damn good. But I also hear from people who've got the Campy wheels. Yeah, you know, I hear Campy fanboys, they're always telling me that the Campy wheels that they have, amazing braking. Absolutely incredibly good braking on those carbon rims. There was a guy on YouTube, he didn't like the Windspace wheels. He complained about them when they first came out. And the poor guy, he got pilloried. he got absolutely pilloried online because you had all the people who'd watched the reviews done by these, you know, the so-called YouTube engineers. And so when this guy came out and said that the wind space were no good, he got absolutely mobbed in the comments, absolutely mobbed. I'll try and find his video. And you know, he went off and he bought a pair of Vision wheels. Now, I don't like Vision wheels. Out of all the wheels that I've had to service in my life, Vision is not a wheel that I would put high up the list. But he bought these Visions for about the same price that he paid for the Hypers, because they're on discount. So he walked away with the top end Western wheel brand for basically the same price as he paid for the Hypers. Anyway folks, thanks for watching. Been a real pleasure, as always. And if you go out riding today or the next day, please do stay safe, and I shall see you in the next video. Goodbye.